With the UK's recent approval of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, there is now optimism among many that there is a light at the end of the tunnel of the COVID-19 pandemic. Others have been more hesitant, and some have even expressed concerns over the expedited timeframe in which the vaccine has been approved. For the avoidance of doubt, personally, I welcome the news and will be first in line to get the jab as soon as my turn comes. However, the fact remains that a significant proportion of the population will either be vaccine hesitant or in some cases anti-vax in general. Some of these individuals have expressed concerns that they will be forced by either the government or their employer to be vaccinated. In some countries like America, the government has the power to make vaccines mandatory. That is not currently the case in the United Kingdom. It therefore follows that the short answer to the question of can my employer force me to be vaccinated is no. In the United Kingdom, explicit consent of the patient is required to be vaccinated, and an employer could not force you to be vaccinated, or at least certainly not in the case of actively pinning you down and forcing you to have it done. So the question is probably more accurately phrased as, could I be dismissed for refusing the vaccine? Again, I think that it would not be advisable for employers to take this step generally. There are a number of reasons why I say this. Firstly, as has already been noted, no one can force an individual to take the vaccine, and there are serious arguments that to do so would be a breach of the individual's right to private family life under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. It is also the case that some may have genuine concerns about the vaccine. Precautionary advice has recently been given to individuals with a significant history of allergic reactions. I can potentially see arguments of disability discrimination. In addition to this, although I'm not aware of any major religious groups that have concerns with the vaccine in terms of not being kosher, so to speak, perhaps that could be an issue as well. Ultimately, these arguments have obviously not yet been tested in the tribunal, and until they are, which will likely take at least a year or so, it's difficult to determine what approach a tribunal would take. However, at this stage, it is sufficient to say that each case will turn on its facts, and there is a high risk that a dismissal on these grounds would be unfair. Similar issues arise in relation to otherwise subjecting an employee to a detriment falling short of dismissal, such as disciplinary process or a warning. Potentially, the employee could argue that this means they've been constructively dismissed and could use this as a way to make an unfair dismissal claim. Or if, for example, the employee was to be suspended without pay, this could lead to a claim for unlawful deduction from wages. And again, I would not advise employers to do this. That being said, a refusal to vaccinate is not in itself a protected characteristic that could lead to a discrimination claim, though it would be interesting to see a case where an anti-vaxxer argued that their position was a philosophical belief, which is worthy of respect in a democratic society. Also, ordinary unfair dismissal claims in Northern Ireland require 1 year of service. So if an employer dismissed an employee with less than 1 year of service for a refusal to vaccinate, it would not be a straightforward matter for the employee to be able to formulate a claim. Could the situation be different if the employee worked for the NHS, a care home, or otherwise in a situation where there's a particular need to reduce the risk of transmission of COVID-19? Or could an employer make an argument that there's a particular reason why an employee refusing to vaccinate created adverse publicity for the employer, which justified dismissal on some other substantial reason dismissal basis? Or how about the case of an employee who's not just vaccine hesitant, but vehemently anti-vax, and publicly so, to the point where the employer feels that the employee is damaging their reputation? Or what about if primary legislation were enacted to make vaccination mandatory in the United Kingdom? After all, it wouldn't be completely unprecedented. The 1853 Vaccination Act made it compulsory for children in the United Kingdom to be vaccinated against smallpox at the time. While I don't think it's likely for political reasons that the government would make vaccination mandatory. You couldn't categorically say that they wouldn't do that in the future. So these are all examples where an employer might have legitimate grounds for dismissal. And I think this shows how every case will be different, and it's difficult to provide a definite yes or no answer in all cases. Anyway, I hope that this has been of interest. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what cases arise in the coming months and years in respect of the specific issues that will no doubt arise for employers in respect of this.